Hi there, Aaron here. Time for another Turbo review. Today I'll be looking at Transformers Dark of the Moon Autobot Topspin. Topspin's alt mode is a heavily armed and armored version of Jimmy Johnson's number 48 NASCAR racer. In this mode, he's mostly blue and sports clear light blue windows. Paint apps are sparse and limited, with the Lowe's logo and the number 48 being highlights. The armor on his hood is also painted a nice silver that I'd like to see more of if Hasbro won't spring for chrome. At least it beats PVC gray. Not being a NASCAR fan myself, I think that the added armor and weapons make his alt mode stand out much more than it would if it were a normal looking track car. It's too bad his interior is jam-packed with robot parts. Also of note is that the sides of the car run very low to the ground, and he'll need to be transformed exactly right in order to be able to roll on his wheels. I'm giving his alt mode a score of 8. Transformation time. Start. Change. Claws. Change. Finish. Topspin's transformation is just a bit fiddly, but overall rather easy for a deluxe. There are a couple of issues here though. The front grille of the car folds up behind the hood during transformation, and the joint-on is very tight. Folding it up almost feels like the piece wants to break. I've heard this from several reviewers, so I know it's not just my figure. Also, transformation requires the waist to swivel 180 degrees, but it has clearance issues because of the hood and grille, and the legs at the hips tend to pop off their ball joints because of it. These issues aside, the rest of the transformation is relatively smooth. Transformation score is a 6. This mode is where Topspin starts to fall apart a little. He sports largely the same colors as his alt mode, with some yellow and gold paint apps now visible. He does have good proportions in his arms and legs, and his head sculpt is, well, it's okay. I am not a fan of the Movieverse designer's penchant for humorous-looking faces, and while Topspin's face isn't terrible, there's no mistaking that his head was designed to look like he's got a mullet. Ugh. The arms on the figure aren't bad, but I always like it better when they're formed from some part of the alt mode. As it is, his arms have a bit of a shell-former-ish quality to them. One thing to note is that, at first glance, it looks like he has claw hands, but they're actually claws that extend beyond his little molded-in hands. Ball joints on his hips and his weapons pods are somewhat loose and can be a factor in trying to display him in this mode. Surprisingly, the weapons pods don't make him top or back heavy, as I had first thought. Aesthetically, this mode is decent, with a few negative design choices. Robot mode gets a score of 7. Topspin has mostly ball joints and pin hinges, and these will allow for a wide range of motion. The only issues would be with the hips and weapons pods. Those ball joints are loose, as mentioned earlier, and they pop off easily. Still, you should be able to get him into most poses without too much trouble. I'm giving his articulation a 7.5. Topspin's gimmick is his mech-tech weapon. The weapon will fit into ports on either arm, as well as a port on the front hood of the alt mode. It has a slider which converts the weapon from a gun to a claw. Given that his robot mode already sports claws at the end of each arm, I'm not sure why he needed a third. The mech-tech weapon will not lock when it's in claw mode, which is kind of a disappointment. Gimmick gets a 6.5. Overall, Topspin gets a score of 7. His brightest spot is his alt mode, with its armor and weapons on top of a real-life NASCAR racer. Robot mode is a little quirky, especially the head sculpt, but still pretty good. Finally, the gimmick, while not great, at least adds some play value to the figure. Moderately recommended. Topspin is a good example of the Movieverse aesthetic. As a sample of the Dark of the Moon toy line, I actually hope he's more the exception than the rule, at least as far as quality is concerned. His head sculpt is caricature rather than character, with its goofy mullet look. Still, this figure is an officially licensed NASCAR product, and that may appeal to NASCAR fans, or Jimmy Johnson fans. I'd say there are worse figures out there, but that's hardly a selling point. Instead, I'll say that if you don't absolutely have to have him, you probably won't miss him in your collection. Thanks for your time, and if you like this review, be sure to check out my other ones. Have a nice day!